So this painting behind me is called Dawn Tides slash Alien Oceans. Um, its working title was self portrait as blue, like as the color blue. What is that? But that changed. Um, but there's still a bit of that in there. Um,
That's really interesting. The concept of a working title versus a finished piece title.
yeah, it happens all the time. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because like, yeah, and then sometimes it stays.
Hmm.
Sometimes I don't have a title. Sometimes I have a title long before I start a piece. Um, Sometimes I, so I love to like just sit down and like create titles and just like just like a little think tank with myself. Um, and pieces, some pieces, some paintings could exist as words for a long time. I'll just like write about this idea and I just love this word or this phrase, and it's like I know there's something there. I'll find it eventually. Um, but this piece was something that I had to do and then find. Um, Sometimes I heard this in an interview somewhere, like there's musicians talking, and uh, one of them said like sometimes as an artist you end up being your own audience or your own listener or something. You're talking about music, and it's true. It's like as a painter, you can be your own viewer, and it happens all the time where I would make a painting and then like a year or two later, like I see something else in it, or I have another life experience that I can bring to it and like think of it in a different way. Um, the Dawn Tides began as this. I knew it was going to be a self portrait, um, and I knew. I mean, just explaining what I knew going in and then what I discovered. I knew I wanted it to read as a blue square from the corner of your eye that you could then look at and then like find different things. So off the bat, it's going to be very monochromatic. I'm working with ultramarine blue, um, thinned down with turpentine or mineral spirits, and just covering the canvas and like allowing abstraction to happen. And like some of that still exists throughout the piece. Um, and I liked I liked what happened without my control so much that I wanted a lot of that to show. And so that in mind, I knew okay, this is not gonna be a typical or what I thought of as a typical Brian Ashing piece up to this point. Um, Now I had already been doing like these blue heads, mostly turned away from the viewer, exploring this idea of like the obstructed or the obscured, exploring the idea of the obscured portrait. How much can you convey? How much emotional resonance can you get from a piece if you don't actually see the face and expression and features, but it's more like body language. Um, with Dawn Tides, I'm painting myself. It's clearly me, I think. It's clearly me. And I have this somber kind of expression on my face, which goes well with uh, the idea of like exploring the color blue and like all its different connotations and associations. So this was really a piece that like started as like this big head. So having all of these elements that I knew was already going to be in the piece, from that jump off point, I could have fun with it and I could come to it every day with like new ideas and fresh eyes and just think just so a part of painting is just like sitting in front of your work and just like looking at it and stepping back and watching it and then just like so much thinking and just like trial and error. um but so some things get lost, some things get taken away, some things get left on the canvas. um and I mean, I love talking about this piece because it's such, I mean, it's the last thing that I've done. It's the most recent thing that I've done. Um, and it feels like such a culmination of these years of, I mean, all these years of like exploring different media. I mean, there's elements of like knowing how to work with watercolors that's in this. There's elements of drawing that's in this. Like I've left some of those like sketch lines in there, like on the chin, and like just like showing the working, and showing this thought process on the canvas, not being so married to the traditional routes of creating an image. Um, and again, yeah, this idea of like having fun with it, but also finding different things in it. Like there was the head, and then there was like the shoreline on either side, which brought in this element of like water. And I'm like, yeah, duh, it's blue. Like, let me get a water reference in there. Uh, I'm not sure if that happened before I made like this gleam to that side of the face. Um, but then like I did that, and it's like, oh yeah, it looks like I'm like emerging from this body of water, and I made like these stars that kind of look like lens flares, and I was inspired by um, this thing I've been exploring. I was in Blanchisseuse a night, like on the beach, like there was this like night beach party thing going on, and it was like the first time I'd seen bioluminescent uh, phytoplankton or whatever it is, and it's a really dark night. And I remember, I mean, like soca music playing, looking up, seeing stars, you're seeing like these glowy things coming up on his show, and it's like the stars on the floor, like. And I've been doing this like these night paintings. Like I painted Dale on that beach, on that beach, and it had these elements of like stars and bioluminescence, and um, so I took that idea into this piece and into like some others that I have in this exhibition. Um, and what that introduced was the idea of like cosmos and universe and like just like mystery, because that's what that is for me, like the great beyond, the mystery, and then like, so just like several jump off points that just like one leads to the other, leads to the other, and I ended up I mean, like circling back to social media, there's this like, have you seen like the Three Eye Atlas interstellar object that's like floating through space? And
Oh, I want to say yes, but I haven't.
so there's this like interstellar object called Three Eye Atlas, um, that I guess like conspiracy theorists are like, is it an alien craft kind of thing, or it's there's like, I mean, I haven't obsessed over it, but it's kind of like this modern mystery that's kind of unfolding, I guess. Um, and it's like, it's fun to look at. It's fun to like watch these videos and just speculate. Oh my god, aliens! And so like I snuck that comet in there, like in that circle that I had done already, and I sort of like as this kind of this side of the painting. I just kind of think of like this tear in fabric of reality sort of thing, and Um, that just felt like such a perfect symbol of like something super contemporary, but is billions of years old, probably. And it's like I love that. So anyway, so this piece is just like full of experiences and stories that somehow came to the surface from just one idea of like I'm gonna paint myself blue. you know um yeah, because like even these shorelines, I'm glad that people can see Manzan in that. I grew up in Grandy, and like we would we would go to Mayara a lot, so like that stretch is like burned into my mind. I could just like paint that without even thinking about it. um and so I'm glad people see those things and see those like what I consider like life experiences in a painting like this. That's such a self portrait. That's such a like m- almost like monumental way of painting yourself. I know it sounds very gratuitous and like it sounds very self indulgent, and it is, I guess. Um, but yeah, that's what this piece was, and that's what that process was like.